So I want to talk about how to add option values to specific options in a drop-down list. And a drop-down list in HTML is defined by the select tag. The select tag is the thing that renders a drop-down list on a web page. I'm going to I'll run this HTML code real quick. And I can see I have a drop-down list with Denver and Oakland and Pittsburgh. Those are my options. The thing that made this list in this box in the first place is the select tag. It's the thing that makes the drop-down. And the options inside of it, there's 3 of them. If I click the submit button, it's going to send the chosen option to the server. One of the reasons why it does that is because there's a form tag around the select. It's also around the submit button. But the purposes of this demonstration is really to say what value, what string of characters do I want sent back to the server when they select one of these items. Now by default, I think you might want, I'm going to put in a value attribute in the Denver one. And maybe you just want the word Denver sent back to the server. And for Oakland. And for Pittsburgh, you have a value attribute for that option of Pittsburgh. What these do is gives each of the options a different value than each other, and possibly different than the text that's actually showing in the dropdown. For instance, let's say we were picking some of our favorite NFL teams, football teams. Denver might be the name of the city, but the value might be the name of the team. They're the Broncos. Oakland might be the name of the city, but Raiders might be the name of the option value. Pittsburgh Steelers. The idea is that when somebody clicks the submit button and if they chose Denver, what can be sent back to the server is the value of Broncos. So another option might be if you had people's names. And you wanted to give them certain characteristics. Maybe this is, I want to send dad. Maybe I want to send daughter. And maybe if they select Alexis as well, I want to send daughter. Here's an example of if they selected Steve from the drop-down list, we would send dad back to the server. Or if they select either one of these 2 options, Caitlin or Alexis, they'll send daughter back to the server. If I save this and I go back to my browser window and I click refresh, you can see it says Steve, Caitlin, and Alexis. If I right click and I do view source, I can see that there's this tag, this HTML tag, that has Steve and Caitlin and Alexis, dad, daughter, and daughter. It's the same code that I wrote. When I'm debugging in Visual Studio, at times in certain conditions, Visual Studio will put a bunch of its own code in here. Don't worry about that right now. Just focus on this select box and each option in the select box having its own value, different than maybe what text shows up. And when somebody clicks the submit button finally, what gets sent to the server is not Steve or Caitlin or Alexis, but is dad or daughter. I'm going to go back to the football team's example. Denver Broncos. I'm going to save this. Will be the first item in the list. Denver Broncos will be the first item. Notice it doesn't actually say Broncos. Nowhere in here do you see the word Broncos. The value is sort of hidden to the user using the web page of what gets sent back to the server, unless they right click and do view source. Then they could see, oh, when I selected Denver, Broncos were sent. This is just a quick example of how to provide values for each one of the select list items in here, different than what the text might say. If I save 1, 2, 3 and I hit refresh, I see 1, 2, and 3. But when somebody clicks the submit button, what is really happening is the word Broncos is being sent back. When they selected 1, and when they selected 2, Raiders is being sent back. And when they selected the third option, the word Steelers is being sent back to the server. Hopefully that explains the importance of the value attribute on HTML option tags.